Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Yo, what up, Grizz Nation? And welcome back to finally a winner post-game show here at Grizz 901. Finally, we got rid of some dead weight, and we can finally be successful here with the Grizzlies. And so the Grizzlies played well tonight, winning 105-91. You know we have to celebrate on the show. We're going to bring you a lot tonight. Nate is joining me. You're going to hear from him soon enough, but also a little bit later, around the 9:30 mark. So in about 10 minutes, we're going to have Lauren Gunn in here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Mavericks. And so make sure you stay tuned throughout this entire thing. We're going to celebrate the win, talk through that. Then we're going to get into the midway part of the show so she can go to bed a little early. She has other things to do. We're going to talk about the Mavs, about the midway point in the last segment of the night. So we're going to do a little bit of the deep dive stuff, but also I have my trivia question tonight. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, let's get to the show. We popping bottles tonight, baby.
In honor of one high-class play, but also against a high-class team in the Utah Jazz, we're going to go with, there we go, Park City-based High West Boo-Rye for the evening.
Nice. I like it.
What a pour. What a pour.
Hey, listen, tonight there's a celebration. I said this morning on the Daily Grind, shout out to Luke. I said that we're going to win the next 3 Wednesdays. The next 3 Wednesdays, we have the Jazz and the Pistons and then the Rockets. Boys, buckle up. We're about to be Winter Wednesdays. And so make sure you join us mainly on those shows, okay? But the other ones, too, are a lot more fun. But the Grizzlies win 105-91. It was fun. It was a win. And as Nate says, the streamers, baby, home win. You know. We got that. The Goon is still hating on Jaren as he always does. That's just
Goon's gonna goon.
And as Dak Daniel says, I feel like I lost my virginity again tonight.
Honestly, yes. Yes. I was sitting there and halfway through, I'm like, somebody remembered how to play basketball again. Uh-oh. Dare I say the 2022-2023 Grizzlies made an appearance tonight?
Maybe. Hey, listen, you know what the magic number is? 2. We need 2 more wins to feel okay. Somewhat okay. We're not asking for much. We're just asking for 2 more wins. And I'm saying if we can get every Wednesday until Ja gets back, I feel confident. We have the Pistons next. They suck. Somehow we might be okay. We might suck less than them. Tonight, the Grizzlies played well. Just looking at a lot of, the stats in general. But honestly, it was a game where they came out and looked like the more energetic team. And they look like the better team. And that's what you really have to put it up to. As Ryan says, Mr. Debbie Downer.
Shut up, Ryan. Shut up, Ryan.
Shut up. Yeah.
Shut up.
A-hole. You're the one
Idiot.
that told me to bet stupid Keontae George, and he sucked. So, yeah, you and your bad comments sucked too.
No.
Screw Ryan.
Keontae George. Oh, yeah, screw Ryan. Keontae George, though, we like Keontae on this show. We like Keontae. Shut up, Ryan.
Yeah, shut up, Ryan. Yeah, they only scored 105 points tonight. But you know what? We played better defense. We brought back the old school defense tonight. And so the Grizzlies win, and they shot okay. John Collins, 3 of 5 from deep, 4 of 8 for Simone Fontecchio. I think I did better this morning on the Daily Grind. Shout out to the Daily Grind. But Jordan Clarkson, 2 of 5, and Keontae George, 2 of 4. And everybody on their bench that played except for Walker Kessler hit a 3. And so they were still shooting them, getting them up. But that's really all they had. If you looked at their offense, it was all out and no in. And if anybody was in, it was Walker Kessler. But besides that, nobody else really did much. And it was just kind of a free-for-all from the outside. But the Grizzlies in general, it was the David Roddy show. He came out with the cornrows and all, and it was great. It was a show that he put on. It was 19, 6, and 1, and hit 5 deep balls. So go ahead and give me your David Roddy love real quick, because you know what he is, the Grizz 901 player of the game.
To the moon! The Roddy fan club is so back up. We are so back up. This is why I never quit on my guy. I said he's got to be better about helping on defense. He can't just sit there and be on the other side of the court. Man, you got to be able to not dribble it off your foot. And when he puts it together, you get 19, 6, and 1, 5 3-pointers made. Pretty much the catalyst for the first half lead the Grizz rode all the way to victory. Roddy gang, we back up today. We're back up today and every day.
Day. So yeah, David Roddy coming out, looking at a nice game out of him, and that's what you have to have. I would say that, just in general, we haven't had solid play out of Bane and Jaren as of late. I don't know if it's more of Bane just is struggling a little bit on that injury and he's nursing that and getting back to full health, but really you have to have guys that can step up. And tonight it was David Roddy early. Zaire Williams played well as well. So we have to give it up to a lot of the guys who we usually crap on. I'm not going to lie. Like a lot of these guys, we usually are very hard on. But tonight they let it all out of the bag. So shout out to you guys. But looking at these numbers in general, 11 points, 4 rebounds at Aldama, 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 of 3 from deep for the Z-Man. Vince Williams put in a 3-ball, had 8 rebounds, which is clutch. 8 rebounds is big. Talking about the starting lineup here, 17.7 rebounds, 9 assists. Fill the stat sheet, 3 of 11 from Des Bane, 14 points. We cash on that in the Discord. Shout out to me. 14 points, 9 assists for D Rose, 6 points, 6 rebounds. Thankfully, not 6 assists for Biombo. But then Jaren had 20 points and 6 rebounds and an assist. But you know what he did? He was the block panther with 6 blocks tonight. 6.
He owned the paint tonight. He quit trying to be a big guard. It was awesome. But let me tell you, out of all those guys, obviously Roddy gang, to the moon, all the way up. Let's go. Vince Williams is the story of the night, I think, for me. Because he only made one shot.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. He only made one shot, but he affected the game everywhere, all game long. He led the team in rebounds, didn't he? Yeah, tied for the team lead in rebounds tonight, but 8. Was an absolute menace on defense. He didn't hit a bunch of shots, but he only took 3 threes, and he was just going wild. I mean, he was harassing any and everyone. He played like actual help defense, not what the Grizzlies normally do is their version of help defense, real help defense. And it was, creating absolute chaos for the Jazz all night long. Like if you watch that game all the way through, I think Vince Williams Jr. stands out as like, man, I do not want that guy guarding me. It was awesome. I loved seeing it. And he played. Everybody out there tonight looked like NBA players. Honestly, Jalen Noel is the only one that looked like an absolute bricklayer. But he's only second game off the couch, so we'll give the guy a little bit of grace for sure. But they looked like NBA players tonight. It was fun to watch.
Yep, I agree. We were hard on Ryan earlier, and you know what? We're going to be tough on him. He forgot to switch back to his Goon, the shooter. Sorry, his burner account.
There he is. He's back.
All right, so Mark Bossman says the effing Dubs feel real good. I agree.
Family show.
That's why I went effing. But tonight we have we're going to talk a little bit more in depth later on. Like I said, Lauren Gunn will be joining us a little bit here in a few minutes. I imagine she's going to pop up here in a second. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on the game just in general. I know we kind of already hit a lot on it. But is there anything that you see that can now correlate going further? Is it just energy, or is it like, hey, this scheme that you might have seen looks a little better where you can actually keep going with it?
I mean, they were super connected on defense. And,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, obviously had that conversation with Marcus Smart. I'm not sure what in Grizz Nation might have happened today that kept pushing them over the edge and got them to this point, but they were super connected on the defensive end. Like, if somebody helped, they were right back to their guy. They ran the Jazz off the 3-point line. The Jazz still shot about 50% from three tonight. It was 40-something%. But they weren't able to just get him up and get a bunch of easy looks, right? They got a couple early on and then a couple later down the road, but during the meat of the game, they really had to earn it. And then they let that lead to a bunch of really good offense. And I thought they moved the ball really well on offense until like the end of the game. And, they had only 105, but they were on pace for 113, 115, something like that, heading into that fourth quarter. They moved the ball really well, but they just didn't let guys get easy looks. They made the Jazz work for their shots all night. And then on the offensive end, one of the biggest things is Jaren didn't play like a big guard. He played like a freaking behemoth 7-footer. That's huge. You had a bunch of guys on your wings. They showed up. If the wings show up, things are going to go well for the Grizzlies. But if the wings don't show up, then life gets a lot harder for Jaren and Bane. And so having Roddy, Williams, and Williams all set up tonight, that helped a lot.
Yeah, so the question from Nate that just came in through the chat is, how much do you think it helped, with having D Rose on the court and being just kind of a vet, a guy who can kind of run the offense compared to maybe just your point guard by committee or even Jacob Gilliard, who is good. It's just he's a little undersized. He doesn't have that vet leadership. So how important do you think he was?
It's important. I don't know if it's necessarily him being a vet. It's just somebody who can take the load off of Bane, because Bane's not right. I mean, if you watch him, that toe's bothering, that foot's bothering a little bit.
Yeah.
And having somebody else that can come in and carry that load for a little bit is big time. And so that's huge. And part of that is Rose will drive. Rose will get to the bucket. You need people that will get to the bucket.
Exactly.
Like if all their offense tonight was opened up by ball movement and penetration. And D Rose can get to the paint, and then he can hit shots there. So defenses have to respect it.
Speaking of that,
go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of that, is when you have D Rose that can get to the front of the rim, the rebounds are going to not clang and be long rebounds, which can actually get out the offense and get them on running where they can do transition offense. Transition tonight, I know the Grizzlies were definitely leading early on, but transition. Why can I not see it? Fast break points. Here we go. They had 9 to the Grizzlies 23.
And they got a bunch of those 9 in the last few minutes too, right?
Exactly. So a lot of times when you're getting to the front of the rim, you're not going to clang, the ball so hard off the rim when you do miss that you are going to send it all the way out. And as Shane says, it was 28-0 at one point. And I think that was at least close to half, because I do remember the island of St. Andrews or whatever his name is was talking about that at halftime. But it was a game where you had a different feel, a different look. I think it was more energetic. And I think honestly, the Jazz aren't good. They have played well. You can kind of see when you don't have your best player, you're obviously going to be down. But I think we're seeing that. We're seeing that across the league. And I want people to understand that. Like, the Raptors fans are calling for Darko to get fired. That's crazy. Like, fans already. It's the craziest thing. I saw it today because I was looking through Raptors Twitter, because Lauren Gunn, we got somebody we had on earlier. Her co-host is S. And so he covers a lot of the Toronto market. And so I was looking through their stuff, just kind of seeing what they've been doing lately, just to kind of catch myself up. And he was like going in on them. And I started looking through some of their threads, and they're trying to get rid of him because they don't like the usage that they have with Scotty Barnes. Like, come on, people.
They not watch last season?
Listen, it is what it is. But like, a lot of this is, I don't know. I don't know. You just got to be happy with what you're getting. But having a vet guy like D Rose, like you were talking about, it does help.
It helps. And again, I think it's just his ability to create for himself, get to the paint. But then you saw what happens when Jaren can go up against just one guy And then he slows himself down. Like, he was making moves on John Collins, who he should make moves on because he's much bigger than him tonight. But he's also making moves on Walker Kessler, who is a great shot blocker, right?
Yeah.
And so that's huge for them. Another thing that probably helped is 20 free throws total in the game tonight. I love to hate Mark Davis. I really do. I tweeted before the game, I said, any of my fellow Grizz fans who are unfamiliar with Mr. Davis's work, there's a 95% chance you see something tonight you've never seen before. Which, by the way, have you ever seen that imminent possession call before where the challenge turns into a bucket? I told you so.
Yeah.
Mark Davis, guaranteed new thing happens every time he officiates. But to their credit, only 20 free throws the entire game, which is, one, much more fun to watch. It's a better product. But two, much, much better for the Grizzlies. Much more to their style of play where you're constantly running, going, not a bunch of stoppage. So I think that was helpful tonight too.
Yeah, I think when you're not actually having to, completely reset almost every time down the court, it does help. And I think that's important to kind of point that out there. But as the smooth Southpaw says, is Jaren, not you, Goon. Jaren showed some self-control tonight, showed a little bit of more of, playing within himself. And I think he went down to the post a lot more, which is important. I think getting into the post and kind of getting to those higher percentage shots, that is only going to help you. And so, listen, I don't know if this is the recipe for what they're going to play like and look like for the rest of the way without Ja, because obviously when Ja gets back, you're going to see more of a game like this. You're going to see a little bit of energetic, up and down the floor type basketball. And that's what we're hoping to see. That's what we're going to keep seeing. We're definitely going to see it on Wednesdays. My God, we're going to see it on Wednesdays. And as Dak Jones said, Jaren also realized that they weren't calling fouls, so he could kind of go a little crazy, go after some shots. That's why he had 6 blocks tonight. And so, yep, it was a good night overall. I'm happy in general that they were playing well within themselves, definitely, but also a game where they had to have it. And I think the Grizzlies getting a big game like that is very important because it does help your psyche a little bit. And so I'm curious what going forward looks like, because if they can keep this, I think we're feeling good. Do you like the rotation or do you like the assertion of putting in D Rose into the starting lineup instead of possibly changing it up and leaving him run the second unit?
I mean, yeah, they won.
It's not that easy.
I mean, they just I liked everything that happened tonight, Daniel. They won and they led by a lot most of the time. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I think it allows you to also have your rotations work where we can go back to what we were talking about earlier. Dez doesn't have to take on all that load. D Rose could take some more off. It allows you to make that happen really well. But I think bringing in players when you have guys on the wings that are going to be threats, Jalen Noel, Zaire Williams was a threat tonight. Vince Williams made his first shot. They had to respect him the rest of the night. Things like that just make it where you have space for Dez and Jaren. Because, make no mistake, it's going to be Dez or Jaren that makes this team go still while they're still moving forward. But having somebody be able to be a threat and give them some space is what will allow them to be able to do that. And so even Jalen Noel, you saw, like I said, he was basically a bricklayer tonight. At the same time, people know that he can score. They had to go out and respect him. That makes a huge difference for those guys. And so tonight, I don't think you played a single guy that wasn't a threat at some level. Whereas in games past, that's been a real problem. And honestly, depending on what version of those wings you get, is a problem the Grizzlies will run into again. But for now, I like the rotation because it allows all that to happen.
Yeah, and as Smooth Southpaw says, as good as Gilliard's kind of played, he's just too small. And I agree. But he doesn't have that vet leadership. And I know that he is kind of a non-factor on the offensive end. But the thing is he doesn't have the vet leadership. And I think that's what's important, is being able to feel confident that you can get the ball and go. And I think that's really the biggest thing with this team is if you're able to get the ball and go, you allow everybody to kind of fall in place and kind of feel into a natural place. a lot of times when you're slowing the ball up, whether it's through fouls or whether it's through the point guard not getting the ball up, you kind of bog yourself down into a half court offense. That's not what you want. And so it allowed them to kind of get up and down the floor, which is always important, but also allow them to kind of fall in line and get those easy shots. And so always important to kind of get your point guard out there. And he's playing a lot like Ja is going to play. And so when you have that, when Ja does get back, you're kind of running the same type of offense. You're kind of running the same scheme in a sense, since everybody's favorite word is scheme these days, and everybody wants to talk about their favorite scheme. Well, my biggest thing tonight is penetration. Everybody likes good penetration. Tonight, it was good penetration from our guy, Derrick Rose. Sorry,
yeah, I love it when the guys penetrate like that.
Yep, big time. All right, so we're going to go and take a break real quick, and then when we come back, we're going to have the lovely Miss Gunn with us. So make sure you stay tuned. Let's do our minute break. So give her about a minute to get set up, but we'll be right back here in a minute and 7 seconds. Buckle up.
Yeah, because Zach Randolph went into the Blazers organization that had some characters. Underline the word characters, right. Okay? He's coming from Michigan State. He's from Marion, Indiana. And then you go to Portland, Oregon, which it's an entirely different culture, entirely different demographic. He had people around him who were guys from Marion. Hey, you owe us. Anthony, one of the key memories of my time here in Memphis off the court, I did a Read to Achieve event with Zach Randolph. And the kid who read the most books, his prize was to get to interview Zach Randolph. And the young man, first question to Zach is, what's the hardest thing for a black athlete to learn? And Zach did not give him any, like BS fluff answer. He said, a lot of times the people who say they're your friends, they're not your friends. And you have to pick the people around you very, very wisely.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, we are back with the lovely Lauren Gunn. How are you, Lauren?
I am doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I can't believe we finally got you on. I know it's late. Listen, it's 9:40. You probably should be in bed already, but you stayed up with us. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, anyone that knows me knows that I'm in, unless the Mavs are playing, I am in bed early. But no, I'm glad to be here. Glad to chat with you. I'm glad we're getting to catch up as always.
So this is our annual catch up on the podcast because I feel like we always somehow will get you on once a year, which is it's usually in the off season more, but we had to bring on the live show. It's more fun.
Oh yeah, this is fun. I like this. This is good.
All right. So did you see any of the Grizzlies game at all tonight?
I saw some clips. I did not get a chance to sit down and watch the game. I am blessed with the League Pass setup, so I will likely catch it tomorrow.
Yep. No, that's great. So we went over a lot of it, so I'm not going to go into that anymore. But if you're in the chat, if you want to have a question about the Mavericks, we're going to talk a little bit about more of the Mavs in detail. I do want to ask some Grizzlies stuff real quick about the Grizzlies just in general. Obviously, we don't have Ja Morant. We don't have a lot of other players, half the roster, approximately $100 million sitting on the bench, just so we're on the same page. Right. From the outside in, from somewhere else, right? Not in Memphis, from outsider's view, how is it, I guess, going for Memphis if you had to look at it from an outside view?
Oh, gosh. I mean, similar to how anyone is going to view a non-massive market team with a not so great record, everyone is going to say, okay, things are it's a dumpster fire, right? Like people are just going to jump to conclusions and just say, okay, they can't do anything right. But Memphis's defense is really solid. Their net rating is not too bad. They're rebounding, the blocks, the steals. They're not, in a lot of categories, they're not terrible. And so it's just kind of the formula, and what you're seeing on the court is, they're not winning too many games, but I do think that they have all of those pieces in play, and we're getting pretty close to Ja Morant's return. And so from the outside, you can't just, I think anyone in the Western Conference knows what Memphis is capable of at full strength. And even just noting the season that Desmond Bane is already having, obviously some of those numbers and the usage and whatnot is going to go down a little bit just naturally and organically with Ja's return. But I think you would be naive or even foolish to think that just because Memphis has maybe gotten off to a slow start, that their season is wrapped or that they're not a true threat in the West. That would be an incredibly naive approach.
Speaking of threat in the West, the Grizzlies, we're hoping to get to 6 wins. So 6-19 when Ja comes back. That is embarrassing. But you know what? We're hoping for that at this point.
It happens. I've been there.
Do you think that the Grizzlies have a chance with 57 games remaining? You're looking at a target record of close to 40 plus. That would mean they would have to go 35 and whatever. Do you think it's possible to be able to get to that number with 57 games remaining?
I think it's tough this year in the West is very, very tough. But I do think the fact that their defense is what it is, and on top of that, the middle of the pack numbers offensively, when you get someone like Ja Morant back, it changes. I don't want to say changes everything, because I feel like that's a little bit of a knock on the guys who have been doing what they've been doing. But I do think it's going to be a different gear that they're going to sort of kind of get thrown into. And I think people would be, again, foolish to not think about how trade season starting in December is going to really come into play for Memphis because they've just continued to have this treasure trove of draft picks and young guys to potentially move. And so I think for Memphis, it's all sort of up in the air in terms of it's all right there for them to go out and take it. And so barring any moves at the deadline, Ja's return, I would say it's hard to say as far as the wins go, just given all of the challenges that they are facing, but it's right there for them to take it. And I think as we've seen in previous years that you don't need to be the 1, 2, or 3 seed to really give people a run for their money. And so I think Memphis, from the outside, again, people are very aware of Memphis, kind of seeing Marcus Smart and how he's talking to the teammates and what he's having to say and the role that he's sort of taken on. I think people understand the danger that Memphis, the threat that they pose. I don't think that they can get overlooked at all. And I do expect them to kind of hit that gear and really hit the ground running.
All right, so I kind of like it. I kind of don't like your answer, but you know what? I'll accept it. It does give the Grizzlies, I think, a chance. I do think that they're dangerous if they do get full strength, but I do think that it's going to be an uphill climb. So I agree with you. All right, so Dak Daniels has a perfect question. That is not it. It switched on me. Do y'all hate Tim McMahon as much as the Grizzlies do? I know you're the media. God. I know you had to be a little careful.
No, it's great. It's a great question. I will say, I think everyone is aware of the reputation and the tone that Tim McMahon is sort of known for. And I think if anyone got a chance to see the clip of Jason Kidd responding to his question, politely suggesting that they write something positive, and maybe a few choice words in there, I would recommend you go look that up. I think everyone is aware what you see is what you get with Tim McMahon. And I think sometimes Mavs fans specifically, I think sometimes they do maybe wish he could be more positive, but also agree with what he has to say and kind of are like, well, at least somebody's saying it, because Tim McMahon has no fear and he calls it like he sees it. And so he has that platform. He has, the support, obviously. And so he does, not always have that filter and sugarcoat things. And I think that there are plenty of fans that appreciate it, but also get tired of it. So take that for what you will.
All right, that's a political answer. I like it. Let's go real quick to Matt Cowan had a question about the next president, Mark Cuban. Is there a chance he would ever run for president? And what is he doing selling shares of the team, making just money? Now he's leaving Shark Tank. What's going on?
There's absolutely a chance he'll be running for president. I mean, I obviously have no idea what's in the cards, but these types of moves are not coincidental and they don't just happen, without a lot of thought and planning going into it. And I think even the timing of when and how you roll out certain announcements and personal moves like that, there's always a level of strategy behind that. So if that conversation started, gaining some momentum, I would not at all be surprised.
Wow. I like that. All right. So we're going to get into Ryan's about Derek Lively a little bit later. So the Mavericks now are 11-6, I do believe, third in the West. They've been playing very well at times. Some people don't like Kyrie. Some people do.
Right.
And as Jason Kidd says, quit being so negative. So let's be positive about the team real quick. What's your thoughts on their projection and how they've kind of looked so far this season up to date?
Yeah. Oh boy. I'll try to keep this short. I think that with the team kind of going into this year, to be completely honest, my perspective was they've still got glaring holes. They've got a lot of young guys, but I'm really excited about Derek Lively, Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, Omax, just to see these guys. Young core with Dallas. And obviously that relative to some of the other teams around the league that have young cores that they're more reliant on, I felt that it was key to establish and kind of build on the momentum that Josh Green and Jaden Hardy had, but then also the expectation of a lottery pick in Derek Lively, and then a later right outside the lottery first round pick in Omax, solidifying the importance of these young guys and their value and the narrative around them, because that's kind of, I hate to say it, but how you put pieces in play to make a bigger move later on. And so to then see them come in and be winning games and people were saying, well, they're not really playing anyone difficult. And there was some merit to that. I'm not going to completely disagree with that. But I think as they've sort of picked things up, you can still see the clear areas for improvement that they need to address, especially when going up against teams like the Raptors that are bigger than them and pose that physical threat. And also the games that they haven't had Derek Lively, it's very apparent what their issues still are. And so I do think that, they're going to come back down to earth a little bit. And we've already started to see that. Like you mentioned, their 11-6 record. But I do think that they have a lot of reason to be happy about how the season has started, where the team is at as far as the chemistry, dealing with so much roster turnover. I think it's going about as well as you can expect, but I'm also glad that early on this season, like this far up to this point, you can still see the issues and still see personnel wise, which areas need improvement, which areas of the roster. And I do expect them to go out and address that.
Do you like the pairing of Doncic and Kyrie?
Okay. So it's a hard question because it's like for Dallas, I mean, let me put it in this perspective. If Dallas hadn't made that move, they would be trying to figure out if they want to go out and spend and give Spencer Dinwiddie $100 million. And so that is a very different reality. And obviously you can have the conversation about Jalen Brunson, and we don't even need to rehash the mess that was. But as far as having someone like Kyrie for Dallas, their moves have always been, okay, let's try to put together some trade package, leverage a situation, and re-sign someone. They don't really go out and get guys through the draft. That's not really their MO. And so going and kind of taking a risk on someone when they're known for kind of trading all their future picks anyway. So they don't have the treasure trove of picks, which means they also don't have the young guys to trade. So it puts you in a very difficult position. So I do believe that for them going to get Kyrie and pairing him with Luka, I think Luka really admires him. So for me, it's about Luka being happy and feeling like this team and the unit as a whole is heading in the right direction. And I do feel like he feels that way. So I guess to answer your question, I like the duo because Luka seems happy about it. But do I think, that this is the winning ticket for the Mavericks? I don't know about that.
All right. A few questions on that then. All right. So the first one is from Ryan. He's asking, would you rather keep Kyrie or do a flip with the Lakers, like for a Reeves or a D'Lo or some kind of combination of players like that? Or is there someone you have in mind if you did have to flip Kyrie for somebody?
It's a good question. In this scenario, even though I saw D'Lo's performance tonight, I would rather keep Kyrie. But I do think that flipping Kyrie is going to be something that is inevitably going to happen. And the Lakers going to be a very likely destination there. So I think for Dallas, they're going to have to be in a position where you can't necessarily just obey someone's destination request. And so I'm curious to see what the trade landscape looks like at that point. I was sort of keeping in the back of my mind, I wonder if the Zach LaVine timeline will line up, because I don't think that the value that Dallas would get back would necessarily be equal to what Kyrie could bring to it just numbers wise. I'm sort of potential Karl Anthony Towns situation. Obviously, the value there I'm not saying is equal in any way, but the Timberwolves are in a bit of, and I think that's kind of a harsh reality for them. But again, I don't think that would be the right move for Minnesota either. So iffy, but the numbers that Dallas have when that time comes, I do not expect them to be good.
Wow. All right. So this is really good. So Derek Lively, I'm not going to let you take a full drink of your water. So Derek Lively is he's one of my favorites that was in the draft. All of Grizzlies nation really just wanted to go and get him. And I felt like
that's awesome.
As well as Jalen Duren. He's originally from Memphis. And so you're talking about two guys that the Grizzlies, entire fan base really want to go get. So talk a little bit about Derek Lively and what he's meant to this team, because when last time he played here, he had probably one of the worst games he has had all season.
Yeah.
So what can we expect out of that? And do you think that he gives, honestly, Luka and Kyrie a little bit more, easiness, of ease, where they can kind of shoot and have somebody who can be the big guy and rebound a little bit better?
Yeah, Derek Lively is also my Lord and Savior. He has been phenomenal, and not just obviously the physical presence that he brings. One thing that really kind of stuck out to me during the draft process was to move his feet, as I'm sure many Memphis fans are familiar with. But that was one thing that I was like, that could be really interesting to sort of add to this group. And so when they did that, was okay, he might need a year to sort of adjust. But then as the summer went on, it was sort of like, okay, well, let's look at the other bigs that we have on the roster. Wouldn't you rather just throw out Derek Lively and just deal with the learning curve just for the athleticism and size alone? And so obviously that's what they ended up doing. But what's been the biggest surprise has just been his maturity and how he's handled being thrown into a starting position where, the expectations are high in terms of adjusting to the pace very quickly and limiting your foul trouble. And he's shown in that area, and he's always talking to Kyrie, talking to Luka, doing whatever he needs for them, trying to extend offensive, possessions with second chance points. And he's just a different level of aggressive that hasn't really had at that 5 spot in a long time since Tyson Chandler, who he gets frequently compared to. And so for Dallas, getting someone like Derek Lively has completely changed things for them, because going into this season was to put together a trade package, even if that means paying to go out. Miles Turner, excuse me, that ship has long sailed. Someone like a Clint Capella, something like that. And so I think now this sort of gives them, and Michael Scotto tweeted an article earlier that the Mavs have sort of pulled off their aggressiveness towards Clint Capella because of Derek Lively. And so I do expect Dallas to kind of improve and maybe go out and try and find more depth at that big spot, more in the 7-foot range. But what Derek Lively has brought to them has completely changed their plans. And in their mind, I think even their trajectory. So I think even a year from now, seeing him bulk up, continue to adjust to the pace, he's already kind of doing the things that they want to see him doing, but just doing it at a higher level and at a more efficient rate, I think he will be very solid for them moving forward.
All right, 2 questions, and then we're going to get to your prediction on the game. Very easy question. I don't want to get too in detail. Is Luka, and should Luka be the favorite to win the MVP this year?
Lord, I always come back to the numbers will be there. It's a matter of the team. Will he be the favorite to win MVP? I think that Dallas is in for maybe a trade deadline move that is going to help round out their roster. They typically end the season well. And I think his numbers will be there. So I think the numbers will be there. I think they're getting the attention that they've kind of been looking for in the past, and that the team record will be. And then there may be a little voter fatigue on some other candidates that plays into his favor and puts him up there.
All right. So this wasn't my question. I'm going to reroute because I have never seen this question. And I don't know what he's talking about, but Adam Pike says, what are your thoughts on Luka's Twitter thread the other day? I don't know what the Twitter thread So you're going to tell us. I thought it would be something you would know and be like, oh, that was great. But,
I'm going to try to look on the fly because there may be, if he can write a follow-up comment on what it was about, maybe that will jog my memory. Let me
was Luka naked? I just want to know that.
No, as far as I know, he's just the goofy guy on Twitter that tweets dad jokes that are like, all right.
So you're sure he wasn't naked? We do know that much.
I'm pretty sure. Let me see here. This Twitter thread.
Hey, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Grizzlies make a mistake by not re-signing or trying to figure out a way to re-sign Dillon Brooks? And do you think Dillon Brooks is any good?
That's a good question. I do not think that they made a mistake not re-signing him. I think that that situation seems to have run its course. I think he's good? I will say I think he's good beyond, like, good for the Rockets. I think they needed some identity. Their defense
is bad. Yeah,
they've gone from terrible defense last year to top defense in the league. So there's something to be said about that. But I think Memphis is much better off. And I think that they've got guys now that can kind of maybe not replicate exactly what Dillon Brooks did the way that he did it, but bring in someone like Marcus Smart and then having some of these younger guys, these hungry guys as well. I think Memphis is just fine.
All right, so let's get to a little bit of the mass preview of the game. I want to spend a minute on this. How do you think the game plays out? Do you think it'll be anything that would stick out to you just in general, other than Luka's going to dominate? The Grizzlies are understaffed for sure, and it's just going to be the matter of, do the Mavericks shoot well? And if they shoot well, they should win. The Grizzlies have to play out of their minds to win.
Yeah. I do think it kind of always does come down to, are the Mavs hitting their shots? Are they careless with the ball? So I do the Mavs to win, especially being at home too. But I do think it will be high scoring. I kind of feel like Jason Kidd said early on in the season, we're very comfortable playing in the 120s, kind of running up the score, being able to close out games. They've done better at that this year than they have last year, and I think they're more at that. So I do sort of expect it to be a high-scoring game, but I do expect the Mavs to win. So I would say, do you want like a final score prediction, or what are you wanting here?
Let's go with the Grizz Teller then. Let's go ahead and give me your prediction. So if you are perfectly predicting this, you're going to give me exactly who wins, and then I want you just to tell me the score. And if for some reason you can get within 10 points of the total number, then we do have a thing we're going to do on Friday. I'm going to put it out on social media, and then whoever is the closest to the actual number, as long as you're close enough, whoever the closest one to the actual number wins the 1-year free subscription to our Discord membership, our insider program, but also the $100 merch gift certificate they will get as well.
Oh my God. Wow.
No pressure on you, but we've already had one winner this year, only one. So we need you to be our number 2. Only one so far. No pressure.
I will try. I am going to predict that. Oh, this is hard. That the Mavericks win, and that the final score is, I'm going to say 117 to 109.
117 to 109. So you have the Mavericks winning 117 to 109. I think that'd be a close game. That line has to be higher than that number. So I would imagine that's going to be a Mavs cover. Maybe. I don't know.
I think what will happen is the Mavs in the third quarter will run up that score, and then they'll let it get real close right at the end. And it will be a matter of, can you close it out, or do you get careless and let a feisty team, steal one from you? So I kind of think that that's what will happen. That's sort of been a trend with Dallas. They sometimes come out of the gate and it's like, okay, they're on, or sometimes they come out very slow. And then obviously it's a game of runs, but you can just see the clear difference at different points for the Mavericks. And sometimes that allows teams that have veterans, that have explosive players, and that can play good defense to work their way back in. And so it's sort of what I expect. And we'll see if they can close it out.
All right. So Lauren Gunn is here with the prediction. Make sure you get that in if you can. Mavs 117 to 109. Lauren, I can't thank you enough for coming on. As always, You're welcome back anytime throughout the year. We're going to go ahead and take our last break, and we'll get back to the second segment, or our last segment of the day. I'm going to ask my trivia question to Nate. He's going to join us after this break. 42 seconds. We'll be right back. Thank you, Lauren.
Has FAU somersaulted over a lot of other teams as like your most aggravating fan base?
Oh, easily. They just think they are so elite because they made this one run. You won this one fluky ass game where there were 6 or 7 different calls. Everyone were up in arms about, like, what are we talking about? And it's not like a thing where they're like, hey, Memphis, great game. You guys are great competitors. I can't wait to see what the future holds between us. Because if they said that, I would respect them. I don't respect FAU fans. I don't.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed Lauren as much as I do. I know this is a Grizzlies podcast, and I know that we were pretty long on giving a little bit to the Mavs, but I think it's always interesting to hear on the other side of things because I think you get a little bit of more of the insight into what is the Mavericks and what they are and what they do and what their fans think and stuff. But we're going to keep celebrating the win. We're going to get into a lot of that. But right now we're going to ask Nate. Nate, how well do you know your Grizz? This should be a layup. A layup. You're gonna screw it up. Should be a layup. But Nathan, who is the only Grizzlies to be named an All-NBA first team?
All-NBA first team?
All-NBA first team. There's been one in the entire franchise, Nate. Don't screw this up.
I mean, I'm going to keep guessing. Don't just screw me after the first guess if it's wrong. I'm going to say it's a Gasol. I'll say while they were a Grizzly.
Obviously.
Listen, it could be a trick question. You're not. Listen, we all know I'm doing a show with an a-hole. That's very clear. All right, so like, you could be trying to throw a trick question on me. I'm gonna say Powell. Powell, and then Mark would be my second guess.
It is not.
Don't tell me who it is.
It is not Hakeem Wark. It is not Pau Gasol. It is not Pau Gasol.
It's not Mark either?
It is Marc Gasol.
Okay.
So you got it right. So you know what? You didn't do too bad. You did all right. I do have.
That was going to be a Gasol, I thought.
I have some trickier questions. We'll kind of wait. I think one's fine for the night. We're going to get into a lot of stuff.
I still can't believe I got Mounties. I still can't believe I got Mounties last show. That was unbelievable.
Oh, man. It was fun. It was a good time. So, yeah. So, listen, you got close. You went with the wrong Gasol, so I'm not going to give you credit on that one. So, you lost that one. But, yeah, Marc Gasol was the first. And I think he is, first and only first team All-NBA player for the Grizzlies while on the Grizzlies, because that's all we're talking about here with the Grizzlies. Let's get into a little bit of this game tonight. We're going to get into a little bit more. We're going to probably wrap up maybe about 2-3 minutes on the Mavs preview yourself, because I hear a little bit about you. But before we get there, if you can, please go and be a person that is a friend of ours and go subscribe to our YouTube channel over at Bluff City Media. If you also want to hear our stuff only, it is at Grizz 901 podcast, Grizz 901 on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to that as well, if you don't mind. But you can go ahead and be a Discord member. All you have to do is join. It is $5 a month. I'm hoping we give away another subscription for a year. But it is a very good insiders program. We're trying to make it better. Mark actually asked, how can we make this better? How can we make this more valuable to the fans, to everybody that's joining in? And so we're trying to make it, give you even more content. But don't miss the show. I will actually be on the Daily Grind in the morning. I'll be back with Luke in the morning for the Daily Grind. And so make sure you join us there at 9 a.m. in the morning. We're going to talk a little bit about this, but also what this roster looks like. I brought up a very important question this morning that Luke wants to get into more detail about in the morning. And so we're going to get into that. It's going to be a lot about what you do with Bismack Biyombo, Jalen Noel, because Ja's coming back soon. those 10 days expire soon. So what are you going to do with that? So we're going to get to a little bit of that information. But that's it. So go ahead, be a friend, tell a friend, like this show, join us at YouTube if you're on Twitter. But thank you all. It's been great. What's up?
Yeah. I was also just going to say, like, make sure you do check out the Daily Grind. It's awesome. Luke and Mark do it together quite a bit, but especially like Luke and being able to have Daniel on it just makes for really good content. And those guys both know ball really well and play off each other really well. It's just really good to have those two on that show. So be sure to catch it. You don't want to miss it. They're both super entertaining. Daniel is the a-hole of the crew. Luke is like the nicest guy you've ever met, and it makes for great content. So pumped you guys are doing that together, and I'll be checking it out for sure.
I think me and Mark play that well. We're like the loser a-hole guy, and Mr. Nice Guy over here is Luke. So maybe
keyword loser, but only to you, not you, Mark.
Us in the morning at 9 a.m. Let's get into a little bit. Let's put a bow on this game. We got about 6 minutes. I want to be out of here if possible. Any more thoughts on what we see going forward? Because tonight, again, we went with a 9-man unit. Do you think that we continue with that even against the Mavericks? And is there somebody that you're thinking, hey, maybe we need to go ahead and try him out? Or are you okay with this 9-man unit we have so far?
I mean, you got to roll with it until you can't. I mean, the state of the Grizzlies is what's working tonight. Okay. There is no, hey, this is our rotation, unless something works so consistently that just naturally becomes your rotation. So right. I expect to see them roll with something very similar to this going into that. I think because of Derek Lively, it's kind of weird. The Mavs are not a massive team, but they can play pretty big because they're big and right, like Luka, right? Plays point guard, but he's massive. So you do have to make sure you have enough length on the floor at a given time to deal with it. But I think they roll with something similar and see if it works. And if the Wings are playing like they did tonight, you could have a really good game on your hands. I think Lauren was being quite generous, making that an 8-point Mavs victory. Also saying the Grizzlies would put up 109. Very generous. But, yeah, I think you stay with the same rotation. If it's clicking like it did tonight, then good things can happen.
Well, I think the reason she's saying that, if you look at the numbers on Dallas, they allow 118 points per game, which is the third highest in the Western Conference. They also they score 119.5 points per game, which is the most in the Western Conference. And so they're scoring a lot, but they're also giving up a lot, which is, I think, is important. And that's probably the reason that she gave us another 4 points more than we had tonight. So she expects us to score 109 and them to be at 117. And I think that goes into the fact that the Grizzlies, who have not been great, they still do a decent job of not allowing teams to just get out and run out to big numbers, big scores. And so I'm curious how that matchup goes. But looking at the matchup with the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night, we do have a good matchup, and I think it always is a good time to play against them. Luke is amazing. Kyrie has been very good, especially against the Grizzlies. He's played really well. But looking at them in general, I think it's going to be the Luka show, as it always is. I think you have to be able to figure out how to stop him. And if you can stop him, you got to hope everybody else messes.
I was curious, so I just looked this up. The Mavs are giving up, you said 1-8. The Jazz are giving up 119.7, and we scored 105. So,
but it was a blowout a little bit, so we kind of pulled the foot off the gas a little bit.
Okay, buddy.
Okay. Last game, Luka put up 41, 9-9, and Kyrie put up 27. The rest of their team, Grant Williams, 0 points. Derek Lively, 8 points. Jeff Green, 5 points. And then there was a Derek Jones Jr., 15 points. Tim Hardaway, 11 points. And then Dante Exum. So what you're looking at, if you're looking at this, is you're pretty much, you have two guys that you're running your offense and your game through, and that's going to be Luka and it's Kyrie. That's pretty much it. You do have Jeff Green that's there as a guy who's going to be, Josh Green. I kept saying Jeff Green. Josh Green, who's there as well. He's not going to kill you, honestly, especially from deep. Neither is Derek Lively from deep, and not really even Grant Williams. And so what you're seeing is Kyrie and Luka are going to be taking majority of the shots as the two starters. But the problem is you have a guy, a flamethrower, and THT and Hardaway, who's coming out 3 of 8 last game in general. But Derek Jones Jr., I think he killed us last time. He went 2 of 3 last game. Dante Exum will shoot. I just think that we have to be careful in general from a lot of the role players, but they don't have a ton of guys that are just going to just light you up from deep.
Well, what's going to be tough is you're going to need a solid Jaren game, not a massive Jaren game, but you're going to need like a truly good to great game out of Desmond Bane. And I just don't think he's right now. I just think that foot has got him a little messed up. And you're going to need him to really perform, or you're going to need somebody like one of the other guys to go berserk, you know? And so if Dez has a great game and then you have Wings play okay and Jaren's solid, you have a chance to win that game. That's just more than what I think you've gotten from these Grizzlies the entire season, right? I don't think you've had that combination happen the entire season. So it's got to be a bit of a perfect storm for the Grizz, but they did something right tonight. They didn't just do something right. They did a lot right tonight. Yeah, you know, they looked like Grizzlies basketball again. And so let's see if they can carry that momentum in. But to be honest, at some point, I do think probably not this game, but at some point they got to find time to rest Dez. That's not a conversation we've had on the show yet, I think.
That was going to be my next question. You have a back-to-back. You're going on the road. You have at Mavs, at Suns. If it's me, I'm going to try to keep going with this. I'm going to play Bane. The other reason is Bane played at TCU. He probably wants to go back and play in Dallas. And I would imagine he's going to have some friends, some family there, more than likely, even though he's not from there. But still that he went to college there. I believe that Bane wants to impress, you know, back there as well. And especially they passed on him in the draft.
Yeah, I think you play him, and as long as the game's within reach, that was funny. Sorry, 2 guys on the Nuggets just ran into each other. It was fun. But as long as the game's within reach, you're playing him, right? You're going to keep him going. If it gets out of the reach, maybe by the third quarter, you go ahead and maybe bench him, and then you rest him on the Suns game, because after that, you've got, if you play him Friday, but rest him after that, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you get over half a week to give him some rest on that foot. And so take advantage of that. Get him ready going to the Pistons game, which is the most winnable game you have until pretty much Ja gets back.
Yeah, the Rockets. 100%. Come on. Wednesdays are for winning.
Okay. The Pistons game's on a Wednesday.
Yes.
So it's still the most winnable game.
No, I know
they are
Pistons
more beatable than the Rockets.
I'm saying you're saying after the Rockets, the next one is when Ja gets back. I'm saying the next Rockets game on the 13th.
You're such an a-hole. Listen, that's not what I said. I said this is the most winnable game that they have is the game against the Pistons until Ja gets back. So make sure you have your full roster ready to go try and win that game. How are they 2-16? Sorry, I didn't look at the record till now. God, man, I thought that we had it bad over here in Memphis.
They're bad.
The Pistons have their team. They have their team. Ooh, that hurts my heart. Sorry,
all right, so we can expect the Mavericks probably to win more than likely, but Wednesdays are for winning. That's what we're hoping keeps happening. And as Dennis joins the show late, he's still celebrating the streamers falling, baby. I like it.
Dennis coming out with the other guys, Aldama and Roddy are the only choices. Clearly, you're late to the show because you didn't hear my Vince Williams Jr. phrase earlier. It's okay. All is forgiven. Thank you for going and celebrating the team at home. Vince Williams Jr. is part of that. Zaire, every 3 games or so right now, is a part of it.
Not the next one at all.
I plead the 5th. Sorry, I was trying to summon my inner Chappelle show a little too late there. I plead the 5th. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna enjoy what we have while we have it. That's what we're gonna do.
For sure. We're definitely celebrating the win, and so yes, we're having a great night. It was fun. It was great to have Lauren on. She was very much wanting to go to bed, and I talked her into it this morning. We were tweeting or DMing back and forth, and she's like, "All right, cool. If we can do 9:30," and so thank you for staying up with us, Lauren. She was amazing, and she's one of my favorites because one, she thinks about the game just, I don't know, just so simple. Like, and she actually has so much articulation when she's speaking through a lot of her takes, and especially about her, the Mavs in general. And she's an honest fan, and that's what I've always, loved with that for her, is that she is an honest Mavs fan, and she knows that sometimes they aren't good and sometimes they are good, but she also sees through a lot of the BS that we all obviously see as fans. And so she speaks on it very well. So make sure you get in your predictions as we put out on Friday morning. We're going to put out the Grizz Teller. And so I'll put that on there. And so whenever you can just follow us over at Grizz 901 Podcast on Twitter, and it'll be coming out Friday around 7:30, between 7:30 and 8 in the morning is usually when I put that out. But great show tonight. I had fun. Lauren was amazing. You're awesome. I'm okay. But you know what? We're going to be good. We got a dub. Be nice and tell your friends.